morning. Welcome to Inquisition Update. My name's Tom Press, your host. You're listening to LibertyRadioLive.com, and thanks for tuning in this morning. A pleasure to be here. Continuing our reading and discussing the most important book, The Vatican Billions by Avro Manhattan. Learn about the wealth and control of the Roman Catholic Church in America. This is the book, and it's my privilege to read it to my listeners and comment on it. I hope you're learning from the book. We're going to begin now one of the most mind-boggling chapters of the book. It's chapter 23, if you're following along, page 169 in the book. It's entitled Catholic Urban Takeover in the United States of America. It begins with a little joke about a subject that's not very funny, actually, but nonetheless, here it goes. It is related that three clerics once dined together: a Protestant clergyman, a Catholic priest, and a rabbi. "Tell me, Mr. Smith," asked Father O'Brien, "what do you do with your plate collections?" "I divide it into 3 equal parts," replied Mr. Smith. "One I give to the poor, one to the church, and one I keep for myself. What do you do?" "Well, I divide it into 2 equal parts," replied Father O'Brien. "One I give to the church, the other I keep myself." "I toss the whole collection upwards," commanded the rabbi. "I say a prayer. Oh, Lord, take what you need and leave me the rest." A hackneyed little joke, but in our context, the characters assume a special significance insofar that of recent years they have changed their order of priority. The rabbi now becomes the one to ask the vital question. With the implied triple division and distribution of the plate collection, and it says Mr. Smith remains in the second place, it is Father O'Brien who has taken the place of the rabbi, for the little prayer, "Oh Lord, take what you need and leave me the rest," has been adopted as the slogan of the Catholic Church in the United States of America. Now, whether the Almighty is pleased with his share of the collection has never been thoroughly certified, says the author. The United States hierarchy is emphatic about it. He has consistently given his share to them, with interests. This he has multiplied, not the standard 10-fold or even the fabulous 100-fold, but 1,000-fold, and without taxation. For the doubting Thomases, another proof is that his representative on earth, the Pope, has never objected to the mounting flood of dollars from the United States. The Vatican's financial machinery has been quietly geared to the American success formula. And in fact, the Holy Father is one of the main beneficiaries of the United States Church Spectacular. When during one of his visits to New York City, Pope Paul VI celebrated Mass at the famed Yankee Stadium, many among the millions of TV viewers were surprised. "What?" replied a U.S. prelate to the naive remarks of some European press correspondents who were also amazed. "Don't you know that the stadium belongs to us too?" That's right. The Roman Catholic Church owns Yankee Stadium, and Pope Paul VI celebrated a Mass there, and so did Pope Benedict XVI in 2008. Continuing now, it says that almost casual too was more than significant. It was portentous in its implications, since to that prelate it had become as natural as the air he breathed to assume that besides all the multitudinous ecclesiastical and semi-ecclesiastical concerns, the famous Yankee Stadium, celebrated for its sporting events, should also be the property of Holy Mother Church. Her transactions have no limitations. Taboos, whether of a religious or of a moral nature, are bypassed with the utmost ease whenever there is good profit to be made. The most notorious battalions to specialize in this seem to be the United States Jesuits. We're going to focus a little bit on the Jesuits. It says, whether their traditional reputation abroad is justified or not, we don't know, says the author. In the United States, however, it is certainly sustained by their highly dubious but successful exercises in getting hold of real estate and lands. The clergy at large have specialized in individual and collective ingratiation with prominent personalities in key civil, economic, administrative, political, urban, local, and state key positions. Many of these bribees and bribers are lay Catholics, and thanks to this, the United States hierarchy and their lay agents are given the opportunity to control every acre of land they can, paying as little as possible, in some cases nothing at all. We shall confine ourselves to quoting a few concrete examples, since these demonstrate better than anything else the pattern of the deals, speculations, real estate control, and land acquisitions which have become the standard practice of large, powerful sections of the United States hierarchy, clergy, and various religious and lay Catholic concerns. We shall mention cases reported by a careful and documented survey of the matter. Quote, the Roman Catholic flair for acquiring public land was nowhere more convincingly demonstrated than in New York City, where a tremendously valuable site at Lincoln Square fell to the Jesuit Fordham University. The school paid only a fraction of the fair value of the land, then obtained more federal aid to develop the campus. That's tax dollars, folks. Continuing with the quote, it says, Manhattan College, an institution of the Christian Brothers, famous for their wines and brandy, obtained a large factory and assistance in remodeling it for the college purposes from Governor Rockefeller's dormitory authority. More tax dollars, right? The Department of Health, Education, and Welfare came through handsomely for the Roman Catholic Church on Long Island, where a part of the surplus was awarded free of charge to Cardinal Spellman for parish schools. In Queens, the borough officials acquired North Hills Golf Course for a park, then turned over 27 acres of it to Cardinal Spellman for the Brooklyn Diocese, unquote. Government-sponsored religion. That's what we're talking about. The government sponsors the Roman Catholic Church. And we're just getting started. Continuing now, it says, Jesuit operations in all their deadly effectiveness were observed in Chicago, where the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare donated without charge a 60-acre, $4.5 million tract at the site of the Hines Veterans Administration Hospital to the Jesuit Loyola University. Originally, Loyola had sought the land through a direct legislative giveaway via bills introduced in Congress by Senator Paul Douglas, Senator Everett Senator Everett McKinley Dirksen, and Representative E.R. Finnegan. When public reaction became hostile, the bills were withdrawn and a quieter method of administrative giveaway was arranged. Father James F. McGuire, president of Loyola, approached Veterans Administration's John S. Gleason, Jr., a Roman Catholic, at that time serving on Father McGuire's advisory board. Mr. Gleason promised to get the Hines site for Loyola without charge. Mr. Gleason then undertook to get a government declaration that the Hines site was excess to the VA needs. Fred B. Rhodes, Jr., Veterans Administration General Counsel, and a Baptist who believed in church-state separation, balked at the giveaway and refused to approve it. He was then ousted and replaced by a devout Roman Catholic. As soon as the newcomer went into the General Counsel's office, an opinion favorable to the giveaway came out. Another devout Roman Catholic was head of GSA, which had to pass on the proposal next. GSA quickly declared that the Heinz Veterans Site was surplus to government needs. At this period, there was no Catholic at the head of Health, Education, Welfare, and Secretary Abraham Ribicoff, however, proved to be just as good. Mr. McGuire and Mr. Gleason went straight to the top and got Secretary Ribicoff's commitment. Strong Catholic support for Mr. Ribicoff in his Connecticut campaign as U.S. Senator was no accident, as subsequent events were to prove. Ribicoff, in due course, became Senator Ribicoff. He reached the Senate not only with the Jewish vote, but mostly with Catholic political patronage, interlinked with that of Senator Edward Kennedy. This was demonstrated on sundry occasions. The two senators very often supported their respective policies, even when in doing so they looked absurd. A typical instance was in 1971 during the Civil War in Northern Ireland. The Irish War is a purely religious problem, since basically it is a conflict between Catholics and Protestants. The Irish Republic, 95% Catholic, want total unification of Ireland. This is opposed by Northern Ireland, or Ulster, 2/3 of which is fanatically Protestant. The problem is discussed at length by the present writer in his book, Religious Terror in Ireland, and I have a copy of that book, and someday I'll share it with you here on Inquisition Update. Find out what Protestants have to put up with in other countries when Rome controls. We'll learn from that book what we can expect shortly in this country. Now, in October of 1971, Senator Kennedy openly intervened in Irish affairs by asking that the British Army, then, quote, in occupation of Northern Ireland to protect the Protestants, unquote, be withdrawn. He even introduced a resolution before the United States Senate. This he did jointly with Senator Abraham Ribicoff. A strange bedfellow, considering that while Kennedy could be excused because of his Irish origin and his Catholic religion, Senator Ribicoff had no interest whatsoever in the religious disputes of Ireland, owing chiefly to the fact of his being of the Jewish persuasion. The political alliance of the Catholic and Jewish senators, however, was another telling demonstration of the reality which economic vested interests exert in the political life of the nation when it comes to supporting the financial affairs of sundry religious establishments. But resuming the thread of our original tale, the rest was mere routine. Health, education, and welfare officials went through the half-hearted motions of reviewing the quote-unquote bids for the land, and the award to Loyola was soon announced. Loyola, which had already accumulated millions for the erection of its buildings, got the site for free. Only the taxpayers were out. As a sop to the indignant public, the state of Illinois was given about 30 acres of the VA land for a mental hospital. The bold Jesuit grab for the Heinz site followed an even more brazen acquisition by the church. In 1959, a 30-acre tract of land in a Chicago development program, which had been scheduled for low-cost housing, was sold instead by authorities to the Archbishop of Chicago for a seminary to train men for the Catholic priesthood. In St. Louis, Missouri, the large Mill Creek Renewal Program was conceived and executed for the benefit of St. Louis University, a Jesuit institution. Hundreds were ousted from their homes and businesses in order to provide a new campus for this school. St. Louis University and the 27 other Jesuit colleges in the United States are all organized exactly in the same way. All the trustees of these institutions are Jesuit priests, and the whole operation is under rigid Catholic control. The property is owned ultimately by the Pope. In the Mill Creek project, the school did repay a small part of the cost of the land, as is customary in renewal projects. The taxpayers footed the rest of the bill. In order to stimulate sagging enrollment in the enlarged St. Louis University, Cardinal Ritter issued an order to all Catholic students requiring them to attend a Catholic college, unless they obtained written permission from him to do otherwise. How's that for religious liberty? Now, in Philadelphia, an old plunder ground, the Roman Catholic Church announced that it had obtained from taxpayers not only land for a new parochial school, but also $300,771 in federal funds to clear the land and develop it. The Roman Catholic Church repaid $60,350 of this amount. The lucky school was St. Joseph's College High School, another Jesuit institution. Earlier, St. Joseph's Parish Church had benefited to the tune of $100,200 in an urban renewal program, plus an additional $46,200 in a special congressional act. Funds were expended to clear land and to enhance the church. Government-sponsored religion here. And it says in Milwaukee, the Jesuit Marquette University has been awarded 35 acres acquired by public condemnation, paid for by federal and municipal governments, and handed over to them, apparently without any charge. The Milwaukee Jesuits added a new fillip to the giveaway technique. They were not only taking land away from the public, they were also taking it away from the Lutherans by planning to take over a multi-million-dollar Lutheran hospital even before it was built. The hospital, a Lutheran memorial, was to be built by terms of the will of wealthy Lutheran Curtis R. Frotert. The trustees planned to complete it and turn it over to Jesuit Marquette. In Pittsburgh, the Holy Ghost Fathers, who operate Duquesne University, announced plans for a 21-acre expansion program that would cost $9.2 million in public funds. The project followed a long period of fraternizing between the director of the Redevelopment Authority and the president of Duquesne. Nothing was said about the competitive bidders for the land or about reimbursing the government. Boston, Massachusetts is one of the better-known preserves of the Roman Catholic Church. Church and state have at times become virtually indistinguishable, as the latter had outdone itself for the former. The legislature authorized the commissioners of Middlesex County to convey to Cardinal Cushing 40 acres of public land for the erection of a church building and a school. Apparently, the land was a gift, though all financial details were a closely guarded secret. Inquirers were laughingly told that it was none of their business. In Boston and environs, it has become almost routine to convey public school properties to the Catholic cardinal for $1 apiece. Other sections of Massachusetts have caught the vision. In Fall River, 37.66 acres of city-owned land were quote-unquote sold to Roman Catholic diocesan Bishop Connolly, who duly paid $1 for the land. The bishop said he intended to use it for a boys' school and a monastery. In the District of Columbia, Societe Generale Immobiliare of Rome, a Vatican financial subsidiary, as we've already seen, was permitted to buy a substantial area to erect a $75 million project. It was supposed to be a luxury housing unit, but nonprofit organizations could also be housed there according to zoning regulations. It is true that the going price was paid for the land, but the Vatican at once received preferential treatment in an easement of building restrictions, which was going to enable the building to rise to 130 feet. In New Jersey, the Roman Catholic University of Seton Hall has been taken to the heart of the certain officials who vie with one another in giving away the public's assets. Biggest grab by the school was $40 million, Jersey City Medical Center, along with various public grants to operate and enlarge it. The giveaway of public hospitals to the Roman Catholic Church has almost become common practice. Here are a few: Silver Spring, Maryland; Baudette, Minnesota; Irvine, Kentucky; Ketchikan, Alaska; West Allis, Wisconsin; Opelousas, Louisiana; Newcastle, Wyoming; South St. Paul, Minnesota; Jeannette, Pennsylvania; and Iberia, Louisiana. Another substantial source of grants of public land has been congressional act. In the 87th Congress, for example, 39 acres of land belonging to the Chippewa Indians at Fond du Lac Reservation was donated to the Roman Catholic Church of St. Mary and St. Joseph in House Rules 10459. This same tribe of Chippewa Indians had, quote, to convey 4.78 acres of tribal land to the Little Flower Mission of the St. Cloud Diocese by Senate number 2895, unquote. The impetus of the Catholic Church's acquisition of valuable lands has been growing faster than ever. Since, if we be permitted to paraphrase the old saying, the appetite grows with the eating, the Catholic Church's greed for land seems to grow daily the more land she acquires. The examples we have just quoted are typical insofar that they occur throughout the United States. We see it in New Jersey, in Rhode Island, in Massachusetts, and in New York. We see one of the most valuable sites in Manhattan turned over at a giveaway price to the Roman Catholic Church to own and hold tax-free in perpetuity for its operations. The giveaway of public properties to the Roman Catholic Church is on, and the spigot of public subsidies to church operations has begun to flow. Across the generations, the accumulative process moves with increasing speed towards its tragic finale. Such a finale has always spelled inevitable tragedy, and this has been seen again and again in Europe. It is approaching now in the United States at an ever-accelerating speed. The author is making reference here to confiscation of the Roman Catholic Church's property. 20 years later, not a word has ever been mentioned about it. And besides that, the Roman Catholic Church is moving her assets out of this country, as we talked about yesterday on the broadcast. Rome has learned to rely upon history. She knows what's coming, and she's protecting her assets. Now, he continues, the American Catholic Church is undoubtedly careening towards spiritual ruination, says the author. Remember, this book was written in 1983. Do you see the Roman Catholic Church in any trouble at all in this country? I think Mr. Avro Manhattan was very optimistic, but the United States is completely ignorant of Roman Catholic Church history. It's also completely ignorant of Protestant history, generally speaking, and they don't have any idea that the Roman Catholic Church has any money. I speak about these subjects on amateur radio on a regular basis, and I'm instantly and consistently and repeatedly hounded for making it all up. The American people just do not comprehend the power, the financial colossus, and you can't convince them otherwise. But I'm going to keep trying as long as God gives me breath. It says the American Catholic Church is undoubtedly careening towards spiritual ruination. Economic expansion spells economic stranglehold, and this creates social and political problems. You see any social or political problems for the Roman Catholic Church? About the only problem we have with the Roman Catholic Church in the news is the pedophile priest pandemic in the world, but that's pretty well glossed over. You know, these kids are just going after money bags, going after the church, trying to destroy the church. The Jesuits were just slammed with a $166.1 million lawsuit for destroying all the little children in the Northwest Jesuit province. So what they do? Declared bankruptcy. The world doesn't care. No outcry. Not even from the Roman Catholic Church. They're not allowed to criticize the Jesuits or the church. They just have to swallow the pain. It's the most wealthy single institution in this country. And the Jesuits simply just filed bankruptcy. They have support from the courts as well as from the government. Continues, it says, political problems are dangerous when they're closely intermingled with the controversial imponderables on the local, state, and federal level, since whenever a church, or rather her material vested interests, are inextricably involved in the network of conflicting business, that church is inevitably drawn into a jungle where morality is adulterated, bypassed, and more often than not discarded altogether. That's exactly what we see in the Roman Catholic Church. So that material possessions and financial puissance, when overwhelming, far from becoming beneficial, will draw the church into the morass of secular conflict. And true religion has always been made to suffer when drawn into it. Will the United States hierarchy refrain from increasing concern with economic takeovers, powerful acquisitions, land and building control throughout North America, the North American continent? Judging by their current activities, the answer seems to be a resounding no. Now, chapter 24 of the book is going to be a very powerful chapter. Keep reminding yourself as I read this chapter that this book was written in 1983, and many of the facts and figures that are cited in this chapter come from the 1960s. Okay? 50 years ago. Imagine what these figures would be today if the same research was done. The title of the chapter is The Wealthiest Giant Theocracy of the Americas. The Roman Catholic Church in the United States is a nation within a nation. This is no mere figure of speech. It is a solid and irrefutable fact of American life. When United States Catholics talk about American freedom, American democracy, and the like, they always mean American Catholic freedom and American Catholic democracy, since their ultimate objective is a Catholic United States Constitution as the final stage to a totally Catholic America. Theirs is not mere abstract wishful thinking. The process is in operation now and is gaining momentum. The Vatican is building her empire within the United States with such success that she no longer fears serious opposition to her continued expansion, indeed, to her inevitable takeover. She is active at all levels of United States society, horizontally as well as vertically. The result is that practically all United States structures are intertwined directly or indirectly with Catholic structures. The consequences of such intimacy are like those of an oak tree embraced by a vigorously healthy ivy. The spreading ramifications in our case are the numberless institutions which have penetrated the United States fabric. These go from Catholic Mother of the Year, Roman Catholic Legion of Decency, Roman Catholic Book and Record Clubs, to Roman Catholic Postal Employees Association, Roman Catholic Radio and Television Guilds, Roman Catholic Press Association, Roman Catholic Insurance Companies, Roman Catholic War Veterans, and an infinite variety in between. All such Roman Catholic organizations are supported by remarkable financial assets, which when taken as a whole must amount to millions of dollars. The most impressive of such Roman Catholic units are those in the educational and medical fields. Here the Catholic Church has become truly not a nation within a nation, but a religious financial empire within the United States Federation. Her educational machine is operating from kindergartens to graduate universities via all the intermediary stages. Her medical machine from the humblest clinics to the most up-to-date, efficient hospitals. The financial assets of these educational and medical structures reach the billion-dollar figure. And these billions are not solely the result of Catholic energy. A substantial part of them has been, directly or indirectly, relegated to the Catholic Church by the average Protestant taxpayer. This is done via an open and devious bypassing of the United States Constitution by the hidden Catholic pressure group within the United States government, federal and local, by the legal, semi-legal, and dubious political financial manipulations of sly Catholic dealers relentlessly operating in the legislative, financial, and real estate fields on behalf of the Roman Catholic Church. Thus, for instance, in 1965, remember this is 1965, in Mississippi, a $7 million government-sponsored program for the retaining of the unemployed was run by an agency organized by a Roman Catholic diocese. The $7 million were financed by the government. Under the Johnson administration from 1963 to 1969, hundreds of federal programs provided vast amounts of United States government money to church-related agencies, most of them Catholic. Millions of dollars passed through ecclesiastical coffers. In 1954, Hill-Burton Act authorized grants to meet from 1/3 to 2/3 of the cost of the building of general hospitals. In 1964, this act was broadened to grant money to chronic rehabilitation treatment centers and the like. From 1947 to 1964, no less than 7,372 such projects were approved. The United States churches collected a fortune with similar bills. Thanks to the one just mentioned, for instance, the Catholic Church got $305 million, the lion's share, as compared to the $168 million granted to all the Protestant and Jewish churches put together. To quote only a few telling figures, in 1947 and 1948, the Catholic Church received an average of $14 million a year of taxpayers' money thanks to such bills. This means that she collected $1.2 million a month, or about $40,000 a day from the average U.S. citizen, the majority of whom, it must be remembered, are Protestants. Now remember, we're talking back in the 40s. Okay, these figures come from the 40s. What do you think they are today? It says from 1961 to 1966, the annual amounts have more than doubled to $30.5 million a year, or about $83,500 every day. The Catholic Hospital Association had reported that Catholic hospitals in 1968 through 1970 had a current value of over $1.5 billion with a B dollars. The United States taxpayer contributed no less than $305 million of this money. The property owned by the Roman Catholic Church via her educational program is no less staggering. She controls more than 2,500 Roman Catholic high schools, 300 Catholic colleges and universities, seminaries, and the like. Most of their buildings are valuable real estate assets. To buy, finance, and run these, the Church has received and continues to receive an increasing volume of money from the government, which is supposed to be wholly separated from organized religion. Senator Wayne Morse of Oregon, to quote only one typical case, introduced in the Senate a special amendment asking for $75 million a year for the construction of private and parochial schools, the majority of which are Catholic. The truth of the matter is that millions of United States Protestants and even agnostics are contributing millions of dollars annually for the buying and maintenance of the Roman Catholic Church's property under a variety of federal programs. Subsidizations called research grants are obtained by doubtful legal and political devices by the Roman Catholic Church throughout the United States. You want a grant written? You want to get money from the federal government and you don't know how to write a grant? Just go to a Roman Catholic priest. They're expert at getting federal money for their churches and businesses. One institution of Catholic higher education, Marymount College in Boca Raton, Florida, is typical. Although in 1968 it had a student body of only 350, it was founded in 1963. It managed to get from the government $2 million in housing grants to build dormitories, a $55,000 anti-poverty grant to study migrant children, and a similar $10,000 education grant. The parochial schools are growing faster than the public schools, which again means that the Catholic Church is getting even larger grants and subsidies from our predominantly Protestant country. This was brought to the fore by the fact that in 1968, for instance, a 10% tax surcharge was put on the United States citizen, although the churches were receiving $16 million a day in federal tax money alone. The Catholic Church of the United States, however, clamored for more. Her bishop's demands would have cost the United States taxpayer more than $22 million a day. This meant a compulsory donation of $280 federal tax money, $70 per person in America. To gain some idea of the wealth of the Catholic Church in the educational and medical fields alone, it has been set forth by a most level-headed trade journal that the annual dollar valuation of the construction of Catholic schools, colleges, hospitals, and churches in that order is at the rate of $1.75 billion a year. The Vatican's financial commitments and profit-seeking enterprises are as varied as those of any of the most energetic and advanced global business concerns. As already seen, its financial ramifications branch off from the Societe Generale Immobiliare in Italy, with gross assets of $170 million in 1967 and controlling over 50 Italian companies, to its offshoots in Washington, Paris, and New York City, also in Canada, where there is a company known as Edeltecno and a Latin American affiliate, Edeltecno de Mexico, based in Mexico City. The Vatican controls or partly controls vast buildings and speculative enterprises ranging from those in the Foggy Bottom section of the United States Capitol, Washington, D.C., approximately $70 million, to the Montreal Red Brook Estates, the buildings in the fashionable Paseo de las Palmas and in Mexico City, or back in Europe, estates in the Chic Avenue des Champs-Élysées in Paris. In Rome itself, the Vatican not so long ago owned over 102 million square feet of property, quote, within the city's limits, unquote. Nino Lobello, a newsman from the New York Herald Tribune, specialized in economic affairs, a liberal Catholic, had to admit, after years of research into the Vatican's economic might, that, quote, so widespread and complex are the Vatican's money-making enterprises that it is almost impossible to get a clear picture of them all, unquote. He was right, particularly in view of the fact that he discovered to his astonishment how the Montecatini at Edison, quote, one of the largest corporations in Italy and indeed the world, which deals in mining and metallurgical products, fertilizers, synthetic resins, textile fibers, and pharmaceuticals, as well as electric power, was bound to the Vatican with hoops of steel, unquote. The picture is no different. In fact, it becomes even more significantly blurred when we enter into the purely financial field. Here, the Vatican's investments are even more widespread. Most of its millions are deposited in non-Italian banks. Quote, some are in America and many are in Switzerland, where the Vatican maintains funds in numbered accounts. Nobody knows how much it has in Swiss vaults. The Vatican also uses its Swiss accounts to maintain its anonymity when gaining control of foreign corporations, unquote. A practice, this, which has given the Vatican vast unknown profits this last decade. The result of this last practice, perfectly legal of course, is that the Vatican, unlike most big concerns of Europe and America, which are restricted by their governments, is wholly free to speculate and to transfer vast funds here, there, and everywhere whenever a profitable opportunity arises. And opportunities are very seldom missed. Consequently, the most financially potent concerns have been either penetrated or are being run by long-range remote control from the Vatican through Vatican investments and policies. This means that the value of the Roman Catholic Church's property is increasing annually. Her wealth is widespread and reaches most of the channels of the economic life of the nation. It is often totally unrelated to religion as such. Yet it is tax-exempt on religious grounds. Catholic action groups fall into such category. These are affiliated with her and are wealthy in their own right. They carry on businesses, possess portfolios, and produce profits. Typical of such groups are the Opus Dei and the Christophers, to mention only two. There exist well over 250 affiliated Roman Catholic associations, all buttressed by substantial financial funds. Most of these quasi-religious concerns operate commercially. Therefore, the Catholic Church, like the Protestants, conduct insurance business via church-related companies. One of these is the Catholic Association of Foresters, chartered by law to serve Catholics only. Recently, it stated that it paid over $62 million in benefits. Another is the Knights of Columbus, which has well over $1.5 billion of insurance for Catholics only. Another commercial cultural aspect is the publishing field. In 1972, there were 98 publishing houses for books and over 517 Catholic periodicals, with circulation exceeding 30 million. Added to this, the Roman Catholic Church makes profit from unrelated business, such as the ownership of denominational cemeteries. denominational cemeteries. They own our cemeteries. Then there are the so-called feeders, agencies. At least 2 of Chicago's largest garbage dumps, for instance, were owned by the Catholic Archdiocese of Chicago. The Archdiocese of New York, on the other hand, sold its 1/2 interest in sales royalties of Listerine for $25 million. Another feeder was the University Hill Foundation of the Roman Catholic Loyola of Los Angeles. This was operating 24 separate businesses such as a foundry, a hotel, a printing press, dairies, oil burners, and the like. The Durants Incorporated of Milwaukee was a feeder foundation for the Roman Catholic religious orders. Among other assets, Durants had a 47% interest in Miller Beer. The preceding year, Miller had sales totaling $145 million. It is the 8th largest producer of beer in the United States. That the Roman Catholic Church should be involved in the wholesale of alcohol is not exceptional. Several of her religious orders are doing just that. The Christian Brothers, for instance, advertise the largest selling brandy in the United States. The Carthusian order of monks produces and sells chartreuse, which is a kind of super liqueur. American monks and nuns are busy engaged upon making profits. The Trappist monks of St. Joseph's Abbey, Massachusetts, for example, manufacture 27 flavors of jelly on their 2,300-acre farm. The monks of Our Lady of Gethsemane Abbey, Bardstown, Kentucky, run a prosperous business in cheese, cakes, hams, bacon, and sausage. The Abbey of St. Benedict, Aspen, Colorado, have 500 head of cattle herded by cowboy monks in their 3,800-acre ranch. The Cistercian monks have a dairy and beef business near Dubuque, Iowa. They have 2,000 acres and large herds of dairy and beef cattle. They operate also a sawmill, a stone quarry, and other businesses. The Daughters of St. Paul have a profitable printing business. The Marist Fathers have a recording business in Hawaii. Listen, we're running out of time, but all this business is tax-free. And you and I pick up the slack. This is government-sponsored religion, directly in violation of the Constitution of the United States, and the end game is the destruction of Protestantism in this country. The Roman Catholic Church has control of our government. They own our government.